You may often hear people saying that communism is an utopia, and that it can only work in theory but never in practice. But thanks to people like Lenin and Mao, who brought a communist revolution, and established socialism in Russia and China. The societies during Soviet Russia, and Mao's China gives us a chance to look at how it would work, if socialism is established in India. The word socialism is written in the Constitution of India, but rarely people know the meaning of socialism. Socialism goes beyond nationalization, welfare for the poor, and taxing the wealthy. It represents a transitional phase between capitalism and communism, or as Karl Marx described it, the lower stage of communism. The higher stage, communism, envisions a world where capital, especially in the form of money, is abolished. Compared to a capitalist society where everyone gets according to his ability, to a communist society where everyone will get according to his need. These theories are nice to hear, but how would such a world function without money, in a country like India? To grasp this, we need to understand one fundamental concept. The source of total value is human labor. Without human labor, nothing gets produced. Even machines, which produce things, are themselves produced by human labor. Take a company like Amazon, for example. If Amazon is earning $30 billion a year, you might think that this profit should be going to the workers who generate it. Instead, Amazon's net profit goes into billions, and Jeff Bezos's wealth skyrockets to around $200 billion, while the average Amazon employee in India earns just 30 to 50,000 rupees a month. Why does this disparity look like theft? To understand this, let's travel back to the medieval era. Back then, an average farmer had to send at least 30% of their total produce to the feudal lord. The transfer of value was visible, as the farmer physically handed over his produce. But in our modern capitalist world, we work for the capitalist lords, and earn a salary in return. Since we work in hours, we often lose sight of how much of our labor time is going, and how much we're getting paid. After extensive research on leading companies, it was found that the actual average pay of a worker is significantly lower than the value they create. For instance, today a worker earning 10 rupees per second is generating 80 rupees per second in value. So we are working for 8 hours, but getting paid for just 1 hour. This exploitation is not only unfair, but also criminal. If a worker, currently earning 30,000 rupees a month was paid, based on the actual value of their work, their salary would jump to a staggering 2,40,000 rupees per month, and that is a huge 8 times increase. This will have a profound implication on the prices of goods and services. To put it in other words, if workers were paid according to their labor time, then effectively everything in the world would become 8 times cheaper than its current price. For example, an iPhone 15 Pro Max, which currently costs around 2 lakhs, would only cost about 25,000 rupees. Hi people, this is Delhi and Deccan, and we are going to talk about what a socialist India would look like in the 21st century. Let's start with an interesting example. Josh Elshert, the owner of Heavenly Pizza in Ohio, did something extraordinary on Employee Appreciation Day. He shared the entire day's profits among his workers. Typically, his employees earn about $40 per hour, but that day they earned $78. This experiment highlights that employees are generating far more value than they typically receive in salary. Consider the Indian Coffee House as another example. The Indian Coffee House, or the College Street Coffee House, has been for a long time a regular hangout and a renowned meeting place for intellectuals and students since independence. Established in 1940, it was the first coffee house in Kolkata, aimed at safeguarding and popularizing coffee in India. Post-independence, the Coffee Board attempted to sell it to a private firm, but the labor union resisted, resulting in the coffee house being made into a cooperative. The economics of this coffee house are intriguing. Instead of a monthly salary, employees receive a share of the total profit based on their contribution. This method distributes money according to each person's work. As shareholders of the coffee house, all employees treat each other equally, regardless of their roles within the cooperative. Many argue that business owners reinvest their profits back into the business, so if all of the profit is shared among workers, then who would invest in the company? But let's think about this for a second. Individual workers also reinvest their earnings. So, democratizing the profit and allowing employees to freely invest means that only the most efficient and beneficial enterprises in the nation will thrive. So the net investment rate wouldn't decrease at all, and on the top of that, it might even improve. But some people say it's not about reinvestment but about merit. Capitalists are rich because of their merit. These capitalists often depict themselves as having risen from humble beginnings, through sheer hard work and audacious risk-taking. However, let's delve deeper. What kind of extra risks they truly undertake, to amass and dominate the lion's share of global wealth. Consider Elon Musk. He shows himself as a middle-class guy. But his family is infamously known for his father's ownership of a huge emerald mine in Zambia, and is a real estate developer in apartheid South Africa. Even Bill Gates' success story often overlooks crucial connections. His mother worked with IBM, and signed a deal for Windows integration in IBM computers. These connections played a significant role in his journey. It's very clear that these people didn't start from zero but with millions as investment from their parents. Let us bring it closer to home. Today in India, 21 individuals hold more wealth than 70 crore people combined. This extreme concentration of wealth isn't just about individual merit or hard work. Take Reliance as an example. An elite employee working in Reliance, earning 5 lakh per month makes roughly 700 per hour. In contrast, Mukesh Ambani earns about 90 crores an hour. What specific actions or strategies is Ambani employing within his 24 hours that justify him earning whooping 10 lakh times more than an average employee? In India, the element of caste makes the situation even worse. Although upper caste individuals make up only 15% of the total population, they account for 85% of the total nation's billionaires. This stark disparity highlights the additional hurdles faced by those from non-upper caste backgrounds in achieving top-tier wealth. In India, you essentially need to be born into the top 15% to have a chance at being part of the wealthiest 1%. It's clear that being rich is largely based on hereditary factors, not merit. But what about taxes? At least rich people pay a lot of taxes. No, in reality they don't pay tax at all. The recent Oxfam report says, while the top 1% of the population owns 60% of the total national wealth, they contribute only 4% to the total national tax. Meanwhile, 70% of the population, owning just 20% of the total wealth, contributes 77% of the total national tax. So, the wealthiest class own the majority of the nation's wealth, and don't even pay taxes. They are getting best of both worlds while we are living in scarcity. 2. Add insult to injury. While farmers are committing suicide due to debt traps, these capitalists receive substantial financial support. During the COVID-19 pandemic, while the entire nation was suffering, 1.7 lakh crore, which was allocated for the COVID healthcare, was given to these capitalists. Moreover, in the following months, they received a bailout worth 1.3 lakh crore, and this is just about the COVID years. In the past 9 years the government has forgiven 14 lakh crore worth of loans to these big companies. Fans of capitalism also argue that without capitalism there won't be innovation. That's a little disingenuous to say the least. If you look at the iPhone, or just about any modern phone really, you'll see that very nearly every critical part was developed with public funding. Microchips, GPS, accelerometers, image sensors, touch screens. These were all projects funded by the public, either via the government or the military. And it's not just phone components. Nearly every aspect of modern-day life was funded and created, not by the private sector but by the public sector. Satellites, the internet, public schools in which our parents studied, national parks, waste management, water infrastructure. Things we rely on, and take for granted today, are the result not of supposed capitalist innovation, but of public programs. The private sector rarely drives innovation. Even the internet's favorite futurist, Elon Musk, himself doesn't know how to build rockets, or cars for that fact. He has just made the decision to reinvest his original father's money in rockets. What he is good at is making money out of money, not innovation. Additionally, he is only able to pursue his vanity projects because of $5 billion of initial government funding, which is literally the taxpayers' money. Okay, so if capitalism isn't driven by innovation, what is the driving factor? It's pretty simple really. Capitalism is driven by the profit motive, and not by some innate drive to innovate. If something is profitable, it will be produced. Scientific innovations under capitalism are pursued in areas where more profit can be made rather than on products that are most necessary for society. For example, Today we have the internet in villages, but the villages still lack basic infrastructure. The state under capitalism will never invest in providing basic infrastructure because it would generate no profit. But the internet has provided instant profits, since through the internet these companies sell their products, by getting us hooked on social media. Billions get invested in making skyscrapers, but no capitalist invests money to stop climate change. Leave helping humanity, it is the profit motive of these companies only because of which we are facing the climate crisis. Today, car technology, and the number of cars is advancing rapidly, leading to traffic jams in every city. Yet, we don't have enough buses, trains, or even affordable flights. In India, where only 7.5% of people own cars, the rest of the 93% population is forced to travel in overcrowded buses, and traffic jams because of the 7% taking up all the road space with their big cars. The solution to our capitalist dystopian hellhole, provided through socialism, is that under socialism the value generated by workers would be equitably distributed, leading to higher wages, and lower prices for goods and services. This would create a more balanced and fair economy where everyone benefits from the wealth they help create. To make the equitable distribution work, Marx talked about the dual nature of time. Time doesn't only work as duration of work, but also as measurement of the amount of work done. That means if the workers are paid based on the hours they have worked, they would get paid for the amount of work they have done. Inspired by Marx, the economists in Soviet Russia employed the system of labor vouchers instead of money. In these labor vouchers the hours of work were written instead of rupees, and given to a worker. If a worker has worked say 40 hours in a week, then he'll get paid exactly for that. It is funny and hard to imagine a world like that, but successful experiments have happened in Soviet Russia, Mao's China and other parts of the world. For example, this is a 40-hour voucher printed by the National Equitable Labour Exchange at London in 1832. This was given to the worker for a week of work, and he could redeem it to get a new shirt for say 20 minutes, or a packet of bread in 5 minutes. But this system poses two challenges. First, not all workers are equal. A pilot's job is way harder than driving a car, and there are more life-threatening jobs such as jobs of hospital staff during COVID. Secondly, the stealing, black marketing, and hoarding of these labor vouchers will continue. So corruption won't stop. But Marx had a better version of labor time-based vouchers. What Marx proposed was labor certificates. Instead of vouchers, there will be certificates. In this, the worker's name will be written on the top. Not only the hours of work will be written like the labor voucher, but also the quality of work done in those hours will be written. The most interesting thing about it is that these certificates will be non-transferable. Think of it as a railway ticket. Your name is written on the top. No one else can redeem it except you. And most importantly, it is single-use, so even you can't reuse the same ticket. In the 1950s the Soviet Russia tried doing it, but the computation power of that time didn't allow them to put an hour-based tag on every product. But today, a normal computer can do all the calculations, and put a time-based value on all products, rather than the stupid price tag. Moreover, we don't need physical labor certificates to carry whenever we are buying something. Today it can be done digitally, where your labor hours are linked to your digital account. And with the help of blockchain, today the transactions can be made exceptionally transparent also. To see it in real life, you will walk to a grocery store, you'll buy some groceries, and give the same worth of labor points from your digital account to the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper then redeems your labor points to earn his labor points, and then the shopkeeper uses his points to buy things for his sustenance, and this keeps going around. This way, the worker is getting paid exactly for the work he has done. Secondly, since your labor points are linked to you, if someone steals it, he can't redeem it because it has your name on it. And since it pays according to not only the quantity of work, but also the quality of work, then if someone is lazy and not doing quality work worth his salary, for example, the Amazon head will be paid accordingly. Then practically, a man like him would not earn billions but a few lakhs. In socialism, it is claimed that all necessities like food, education, healthcare, travel, and housing should be free. So a progressive taxation system is applied during the transitional phase of socialism. Suppose a district is doing 80,000 hours of work in a month, then even if 40% of it goes to taxation, it will still not hurt people, because they will be anyway earning 8 times more than their today's salary. And hence the state's tax collection will also increase by 8 times. The extra 8 times tax collection will be more than enough to sustain all basic needs of humans in a socialist society. And since half of the things we need in our life will come from our tax deduction, in which today our 60% of money is wasted, will be invested back in the system. We could spend more on things we fancy and desire, than things we just require. Put poetically, think about the places you would visit around the world, if we were living in a communist society. To illustrate this concept with a tangible example, let us revisit the case of Ramu. Presently, Ramu earns 30,000 rupees, and is subjected to a direct tax rate of 28%, amounting to 9,000 rupees. In the socialist phase, however, his earnings would soar to 2,40,000. Even if the tax rates are increased to 40% tax rate, then after paying 1 lakh in tax, he will still save 1,40,000 at the end of the month. Consequently, the tax collection would experience a tenfold increase, redirecting wealth from the pockets of so-called self-made billionaires to public welfare. Furthermore, Ramu currently allocates 70% of his monthly income, that is 30,000 rupees, towards housing, groceries, children's education, electricity, and other essentials. In the socialist phase, these expenses would be covered by tax deductions already, resulting in a significant increase in Ramu's savings, from 5,000 rupees a month to 1,40,000 a month. Thus, not only would his income be 8 times greater, but his savings would also surge by staggering 27 times. Consequently, he would be contributing substantially more to the state, while simultaneously enjoying unprecedented savings. With this much taxation, the government could not only fund basic necessities but also emotional necessities, like free media consumption without paywalls, and costly movie theaters. Mathematically, the total tax amount would be enough to pay the artists, actors, and other people involved in the creation of art. So they would get paid fairly, based on the quality of their work. If a song has become a lot popular, then it is generating more value, thus the artist will get paid more. This doesn't only solve the copyright issue, as it will no longer come from a private producer, but from the tax-funded cinema governing body. Talking about copyrights, the rights of the creation of the song or even of scientific innovation will definitely go to the actual creator. But if the artist is getting paid, according to the popularity of his creation already, then the piece of work will also be free to copy and reuse, for everyone. Okay, socialism has come in Russia and China, and it looks possible that it can work in India too. But has communism ever come in any country? A lot of people bring up the socialism as a failure argument, and argue that Soviet Russia could have achieved communism, if it had not failed. Meaning that, the socialist system collapsed by itself, because of its foundational problems. However, in reality socialist Russia did not economically fail, but was defeated by the capitalist countries. Just after the Russian Revolution in 1917, all major capitalist countries attacked Russia for more than 10 years. This was called the Russian Civil War. After the Soviets defeated them, the capitalist countries got united again and attacked Soviet Russia. This was the Second World War, in which more than 27 million Soviet citizens died. But despite all of these hardships, Soviet Russia was thriving. During the waves of Great Depression in America, when the US economy was going through -12% growth rate, the Soviet republics were enjoying 15% growth rate. Hence, when the capitalist countries realized that they can't break Soviet Russia from outside, they attacked it from inside, and brought a capitalist revolution with the help of the remaining elite in the country. After surviving 50 years of war, this was the last attack Soviet republics could sustain. And after the death of Stalin in 1956, and the subsequent rise of Nikita Khrushchev, socialism was finally defeated by the capitalist forces. Even though in the last memorandum 70% of the Soviet citizens and 90% of Ukrainians voted for the continuation of socialist government, the ruling class, with the help of other capitalist countries, overthrew the socialist government of Russia, and brought capitalism. So in short, socialism does work, and communist society can be built, if we make a formidable alliance against the capitalist forces. The Marxist maxim of, from each according to his ability, to each according to his need, was not fulfilled in Soviet Russia because they were defeated, before creating a communist society. But they did achieve the socialist stage remarkably, and thus could establish the principle of, from each according to his ability, to each according to his work. and that is how socialism would work, if you implement it, in India.